Yeah, this is pretty interesting. Thieves got 20 vehicles from dealerships with key fob sleight of hand, police say.
Oh, we've seen this trick before.
So yeah, there were a couple GMC Sierras missing from a dealership in Connecticut, and I guess they found them, and they've gotten some suspects under arrest. But I just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I'm assuming, is this similar to the problem that was going on with Hyundais and Kias before?
No, no.
No,
So
they were just poorly built and they were easy to steal.
yeah, uh, General Motors had a big problem with automotive theft. Oh, I mean, back when Louis Chevrolet drove that first, Chevrolet off the line, he went in for a beer and someone stole it behind his back. So in the 90s, they made a new key that had a little resistor in it, and the ignition computer or whatever had to recognize that exact resistor. Otherwise, it didn't matter if your key went in and turned, or if you put a screwdriver in there and twisted. And so that was the first type of electronic countermeasures. Well, it wasn't just Chevrolet; it was all of General Motors. Actually, I'm sure it was big on Cadillacs. I remember the gold-plated little key, and then it had the little resistor, the little chip in it. Except it wasn't actually a chip; it was just a resistor because it was the 90s, maybe the 80s. I don't remember. So we've had those types of keys that have computer encryption in them for quite a while. Obviously, anything that has the hands-free key thing that goes in your pocket and you just walk up to the car and it recognizes you, opens you open the door and just push the button and it goes automatically. That's got encryption in it. If anybody else walks up with a different key from a different car and tries it, the handle doesn't do anything. But Hyundai and Kia had two levels of cars. The base models came with a regular old key, but it did not have as much as a resistor in it. It was just a key. And so people could mechanically break into the car, mechanically break into the ignition, and steal them real easily.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a Hyundai or a Kia that had the hands-free keyless thing, the little doodad, those weren't getting stolen because they had the computer security.
Oh, interesting. I
thought
thought that it was like
here, yeah, go ahead.
I thought that it was a tech issue. I didn't realize it was so simple.
Well, it is a tech issue. They didn't put enough tech in the car.
Right. It was an absence of tech that caused the problem. Thieves found that out. Let me tell you, a thief and a shady salesperson, are always going to be looking like water for the path of least resistance. If they find a crack in that armor, they're exploiting it, and they're going to be ruthless about it. They don't care. The technology that does that is relatively rudimentary today. I mean, it's not even high tech to speak of anymore. So and the fact that it was, you had a major car manufacturer out there or two that was making vehicles without that requirement was almost criminal. I mean, it was negligent on its best day. Because
it was obviously I wouldn't call it a fault, but it was obviously an oversight. I think the lawyers that sued them were overstepping their bounds when they're saying, well, these should have had it because there's
I agree. A manufacturer doesn't have to put them in there. Yeah.
There's federal motor vehicle safety standards, and there's there's all kind of these laws which manufacturers have to read, books thicker than the Library of Congress and meet up to every part. And an encrypted key was not in there, so they didn't put it in there.
Well, and the hell of it is, that's probably $20 a car. I mean, it wasn't like you were asking to put another 2 G's into it, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And it was like,
heck, I'd have to differ. I'd have to say it's probably more like $1.50 a car.
That's amazing.
I mean, when you're talking at scale or whatever, I mean,
it could have prevented a lot of damages. Yeah. So I found out how these 20 vehicles were stolen. Apparently, there was an organized ring, and they were just swapping out the keys really quickly. So, I guess they do a test drive and then swap out the keys or clone them, whichever.
Because you could buy, you could buy a used little key fob, or you could probably buy a fake over online from China, who will probably making those fake key fobs in Mexico now.
Yeah, and you swap them out as long as you got the stock number and so forth. Now the newer,
take the ring off and put the ring back on.
The newer keyboards and security systems also read that chip coming back in.
Oh,
so in other words, you can't get away with putting a shell back on there because it's going to detect that it's not reading the chip in it either.
Oh, nice. I didn't know about that. That's
but that's why some of these key systems are costing $100,000 a dealer. I mean, it's like they're an incredibly expensive feature. When I got out of running the last Hyundai store I ran in St. Louis, we had put in a key system because at that time the keys had the chips in them, and to get another key cut and have the chip programmed for the car, if the customer lost one, they were running about $100 a key. Okay, well, all of a sudden you have 20 keys messing up in a month. You got $2,000 expenditure. That's 25 grand a year. That's a little bit of money, right? So I had a system. It was very simplistic, but every key got a plastic like knob on it that had a lock insert. Okay, and you had the soda machine style round key, right, to be able to unlock the thing and so forth. Well, here was the deal. You had your key, and you had two of them. You had one for the key, and you had one for the license plate, which worked on the same mechanism, okay? So in order for you to get out your key for the test drive and the license plate, you had two soda machine keys, right? So you got them out and so forth. Somebody came up and said, hey, man, hey, with them, I'm sorry, man, I don't know what happened to my other key, but I got to take this customer and test drive. Let me get your key, and I'll find mine, and I'll give it back. No. Because let me tell you what happened. You never got that key back. And then when you needed one for a test drive, you didn't have your two keys, right, to make it work. Well, I told everybody, it's like, look, this is the way it works here. You lose the key, the round key, okay? And I'm going to give you, you're going to start off on strike two. Okay, you already got two strikes against you. It's going to cost you $100 for another round key. But if we have any keys missing or come up missing because of a round key that you lose, you're fired, because that meant that somebody was actively trying to steal. Somebody was actively trying to work the system in order to get the keys to a car that had a computer chip that would work, start the vehicle, and be able to take off with it. Okay. So that's what I had to do. And everybody's like, well, why are you being such a jerk? Right. And it was a word that began with a D and rhymes with the rest of my name, and and so forth, right? And let me tell you, I was just like, look, I have zero tolerance. I'm sorry, but if the owner comes up to me and asks me for my key, and I told him the same thing, you're not getting it. I'll get you two. You lose them, you're paying, right? It's your money. You're gonna abide by the same rules. But let me tell you something. For a year and a half, I think we only had like two keys in a year and a half that were ever a problem.
The old key switcheroo, that's an old trick that thieves have played at dealerships for years. I mean,
I can't believe that was working.
They would go and they would go to a grocery store that had a guy that made keys and tell him, "Oh, I need a Chrysler key.
Yep.
Oh, where's your key? Oh, I don't have it, but just cut it, 13579 or whatever."
Yeah, here's the code.
Because you weren't gonna use the key. You were just going to have it you were just going to swap it for the key on his fob. And then you come back the next day and that New Yorker with the 440 is yours. Cause boom.
It's gone. It's at the chop shop. It's already been cut up overnight. You ain't finding that one. That's gone. Okay.
Well, or it's burned to a crisp in New Orleans East behind the bayous.
That could be too.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you, and it really helps out.